This is that track that features Questlove on vocals talking about Dilla, and I put it up as a full track playthrough. I've had quite a few comments coming back and people are keen to understand how I put the track together. And I know that all the elements are visible on screen on that playthrough, but I didn't give any insight into how I put a track together. So that's what I'm going to do on this video. And for the moment, what I've done is that I've muted Questlove, and that's deliberate because it's going to be confusing if there are two voices on the production. At the moment, you can hear what's going on. You know, you've got the intro here, and I decided to start with just chords instead of beats. So let me take you onto the chords. Let's have a look. You can see also I've got the scenes, basically these are available. So this is one of the things about Bitwig. If you're used to Ableton, you're either in session or arrange mode. And we've got the combination of both here. So these are essentially things you can turn off. See? So there's your arrange view, but actually a session view at the same time. I only created one scene's worth of clips. You can see that here. And I recorded all those in and just essentially looped them to structure it. All right, so that's what I did. Didn't create lots of variations in the scenes, didn't turn on clips on and off whilst it was playing, just actually sat and mapped it out in a regular kind of linear fashion. So that's what was going on with the arrangement there. And you can see stuff, I'll talk about different sections as we get to that. But what I want to do is just focus on these chords at the very beginning. Okay, so here, going to solo the track and we're going to have a listen. So you can see sampler. This is a chord from the library. This is a Real Deep Chords Volume 1 from A Bit Deeper. Once again, I'll put the link down below, so if you want to go and purchase those for yourselves. The other thing that's happening is it's running through the Bit 8 device. I'm using this to rough up the sample. Okay, so I'm going to take that off. Get ready, I'm going to wait for the next beginning of the bar. Here we go. So it sounds great, but I just wanted to add a little bit more character. It's got this slightly squelchy kind of noise going on there. And then over here I used the EQ2. I'm rolling off everything below 222 Hertz with a reasonably shallow slope so it's not too pronounced. Okay, and that's because I've got a bass line coming out later. And there were some bass notes that were in the chord. Okay, so the whole purpose of that is to remove those, or at least reduce those, to give the bass more space to cut through. So let's come back. Let's take a look at what happens next. So we've got a couple of things. There is a kit here. So this is a drum machine, and that's sitting inside a container. And we basically got the classic 909 kit here, running through a delay 2 for the echo. Okay, so very simple. Let me just show you what it would be like without the echo. Let me solo that for you. And then with the delay. Just add a little bit more kind of space and movement, all right? The clap. Now, take a look at how I've actually put these beats together. I didn't actually use a container. I didn't use that drum machine component using the container. So I actually ended up going with a single sampler per sound. All right, so that's what's going on here. So you can see down here, sampler with a kick drum. I've got sampler with a ride and some EQ. I've got sampler with a hi-hat. Blur, I'm going to come back onto that. EQ DJ being used to roll off the lows. Closed hat in a sampler. So you see what's going on here. It's a single sound in a single sampler. But I like the way that I can arrange the track in this visible format. If I was using a drum machine, you know, like a container that has all of these samplers inside, then that means it's kind of hard to make out what's going on the programming side. Everything's placed into a single clip. But what I can do here is I can really clearly see what's going on. And I've actually routed all of these through a group, so I can condense them up into that little tidy folder. So I like to be able to see this. I find it helps with the arrangement. Okay. So that's the whole thinking behind that. Various different individual one-shot drum samples, and these come from the Real Deep Drums library. So once again, really great, very usable set of drum samples. I'll put a link for those too down in the descriptions. So we got an intro that has the chords, and then we have the clap and the crash. So let me just get this going. Let's have a listen. there's also a little kind of jingling texture in the background. So this is basically a chime. It's kind of like a wind chime sample. And you can see what I've done here is this, that I've looped that from halfway through and it comes back on itself. And that creates this really nice rhythmic, metallic, moving texture. Take a look also what's going on with that. There's a rotary here, so that's being used to pan the sound left and right. You can see that. So over here, post rotary effect, you can see the meters biased towards the right now and then onto the left. Once again, EQ DJ being used. This is to really thin out the sound. I'll show you what it was before. You won't be able to detect too much difference there, but I felt I wanted to make that just clean and make sure there's nothing in there, no low end baggage. So let's take a look. What's the next element? Why don't I solo these actually so you can hear these in isolation. So clap. And by the way, clap is going through an EQ, and then the reverb. I absolutely love Bitwig's reverb. So that sounds really, really great there. That's using the hall as opposed to the room. Without. So you can really hear that the reverb makes a big difference to that clap sound. Much more atmospheric. Let's take a look at the hats. So this one's designed to work in conjunction with the open hat. But let's take a look at that open hat. Let's see what's going on with blur. Now this is an effect inside Bitwig 2 that I really love. And this is something that allows you to create some really great stereo width from a sound that otherwise could be quite narrow and mono. So I'm going to take it off. I felt I wanted to add this width. So I prefer the sound of that in the context of this particular track. It doesn't mean I'd always make a sound like that wide. Okay. What else do we have? The kick. Real nice, tight, slightly grainy kick. Then we've also got a tom. Very short as well. But that works in conjunction with that kick. Notice that I've got the shuffle on up the top here. So that's being used to create that nice swing. And then we've got a shaker and a rim shot that come in over here. So let me just move this over. I'll come onto the bass in a second. So rim shot. Shaker. Bit of low end EQ taken out here as well. So that's the beats. So the bass line, let's take a look. The bass is an FM4 instance. So this is a patch that is a very simple kind of subby sine wave. And have a listen to it. A little bit of compression. EQ, just to remove some frequencies here that I felt were just kind of getting in the way once everything's all together. Note that the bass line itself, the notes are avoiding the kick drums. Okay. So that allows it to be nice and subby with a reasonably heavy kick drum on there. Okay, let's take a look. What else do we have? The ride comes in over here. Also notice, just to add some drama on that section, what I did was I cut the beats out. So just 3 beats and then back in. All right, that felt like that worked at the section of the track. So this new sound. Let me take off those others that are sounding like they were soloed as well. Oh no, maybe not. Must have been a little glitch there. Just another instance of sampler and then running through some EQ. So really simple at the moment. Let me just take that solo off. And of course, all of this is flowing underneath the Questlove vocal.
It's the equivalent. The shortest version is the equivalent of someone.
So let's come back to this vocal. Okay, this is the vocal that I found on the Red Bull Music Academy. And so it was an interview with Questlove. He was talking about J Dilla. And this is running through the EQ here, then the delay, then the blur to add some width, and then the compressor. Let me show you what it would sound like without these two.
The thing that I'll miss the most about him is the sound of...
Now let me put the blur on.
The thing that I'll miss the most about him is the sound of...
See, it adds that stereo width and makes it slightly electronic and trippy as well. Delay is just there to add some space.
The thing that I'll miss the most about him is the sound of... Woo!
So that felt really complimentary to me. And interestingly, a couple of comments were coming back about this where they were saying there's a little bit too much Questlove. And I think I kind of agree. You know, when I put the track together, it felt like I wanted to have all of that on. But now I might be inclined to mute this, okay, and allow the music to kind of breathe. All right, so let's take a look. Let's come back over here.
Made it sound like there was an actual loop. Like you can't even hear the micro chops in it. The micro chops in it.
You can hear I looped the vocal there and faded it down using the fades. That's a new Bitwig 2 function. Listen to that synth. I love that synth. Let's come back on that. So synth riff fall. What instrument did I use? This is a preset from Polysynth. I can't remember which preset I used actually. I renamed this. It would have kept the name of the actual patch, so I can't remember. But you can see there's a lot of nice movement going on here. The Polysynth update recently has really added to the capabilities. I love the texture of that. It felt like it was cutting through really nicely, and it was a synth sound I really enjoy. And you can see it's being used to bridge one section into another. Just stripping everything back here. And then a new keyboard sound is coming up with volume automation. It's over here. So it's like an electric piano, a more metallic sounding one. From the same library from Real Deep Chords Volume 1. Lots of delay on there. Add some space and an EQ.
The thing that I'll miss the most of...
So yeah, I might be inclined to take that off at this point. I'm in two minds. I'm a real big fan of that vocal, you see.
Years at Times Square at midnight. Like, just whenever Dilla
So anyway,
said,
let's go through the vocal again.
you knew
I've got the same
what I
synth riff,
just heard. I just...
but reversed.
Oh my God. Like, how did he do that? What do you manage
So whereas before it was going from high to low, it's going from low to high.
to heard? I just... Oh my God. Like, how did he do that? What he managed to do was find every microscopic period of
So,
the song.
just heading for that final breakdown here. It's nothing too dramatic, it's just stripping stuff down.
3000 on,
See, if I was going to cut that vocal, probably what I would do is bring it back about here. Let me just have a look. So giving that some space. Get a feeling maybe it would need to have some kind of, I don't know, maybe some new melodic element. It's very easy to get carried away adding stuff that is not necessary. You know, in a club, the repetitive stuff that is a groove can sometimes really work. You've got to remember that in a club, a lot of people are in an altered state, whether they're drinking alcohol or they're doing something else. And there's sufficient variation because that chord's coming up, it's just the volume automation, the original chord. I'm just going to see how this feels actually. Because in some respects that melody with that keyboard was obscured by the fact Questlove was talking before. So let's see what happens. This is going to cascade down, going to go down to the breakdown, we're going to have Questlove talking.
the thing thing that I'll miss the most about him is
That felt like it came in really nicely there, actually.
Woo! Like, that was his idea of, like...
Also, whilst I'm here, I did create a copy of the Questlove vocal and put a longer feedback on the delay. Actually, no, I didn't use a delay. I used a reverb. That was over here. So before I used the delay, and then what I did was I used a reverb here instead.
When he played me...
Yeah, actually, I'm definitely down with this positioning of the Questlove vocal. That feels like it works really well.
What I just heard, oh my God, like, how did he do that? What he managed to do was find every microscopic period of this song. So suddenly,
yeah, it feels like it's adding extra impact to the words.
On his MVC 3000, on 12 pads.
Okay, a new element has come in, and this is Polysynth again, another preset, Plop Drops. It's a funny name. Just going to point out that a lot of these presets have chains of effects that really bring the sounds to life. So you can see that that's all part of the actual device. And there's also the arpeggiator running here.
A 10,000 piece puzzle in record time. Like, this sounds normal to you, and that's the thing. He made it.
Okay, getting to the end. So let me just take a look at the master. I've got Bitwig's own compressor with a very shallow ratio. This is just basically gelling the mix together. I've gone for a slow attack, a reasonably fast release. Small amount of gain reduction, you can see that, very small amount. EQ's being used to kind of round things up on the bottom end, dip a little bit in terms of the muddiness kind of area. And then also I felt there's a bit of an abundance of very high frequencies here. And then finally, at the end, I'm using the peak limiter. I'm not actually pushing much into that at all. Sitting at minus 0.3. Some people would potentially recommend being a bit more conservative if it's going to be compressed to MP3, so something like about minus 0.5. Maybe even minus 1. Depends who you speak to. Okay, so look, that was it. A little bit behind the scenes insight into that track. I'm still contemplating what to do with this. The vocal is definitely an issue because the copyright in that recording is owned by Red Bull Music Academy. As an instrumental, I could probably put this out, you know, so that's something to think about. But anyway, if anybody has any further comments, just give me a shout and I'll see if I can respond.